What's up, book nerds? My name is Tara, and today I'm going to do a review of Wink Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve Tucholk. I thought I would give you a review of what I thought of it after reading it, including a synopsis that maybe gives a little bit more information about the plot of the book, as well as then my overall thoughts and feelings about the book. So if you are one of those people who would like to know more about the book, then stick around. But if you are someone who typically likes to go into books a little more blind, then you may want to click out of this video and just go ahead and pick up the book. It's impossible to start a review of the book without talking about our main characters who are in the title of the story. We have three characters here: Wink and Poppy, who are the girls, and then Midnight, who is our male character. And the story is told in narration from each of those 3 points of view. Each chapter is very short, and we're getting all of their different sides of the story. However, it's pretty clear from the beginning that we're not entirely sure if each of them is a reliable narrator or if they're telling us the whole truth. So I'll start with Wink and Poppy because they are the female characters and they are almost complete polar opposites from each other. Wink is almost like your archetypal Earth Mother character. She has curly red hair and lives on a farm with her many siblings that she calls the orphans. Her mother is a psychic who reads people's tarot cards, and she has this very free life where she reads a lot of fairy tales and she views characters as the heroes and the villains. And in this particular story, we are led to believe that one of the characters is going to be our hero, one is going to be our villain, and that someone has a secret. So that's part of the synopsis for the story, and seeing that through Wink's eyes, we have a sense of who those characters might be and which one is which. However, we learn that that may get flipped on its head by the end of the story. So our villain, stereotypically, would be Poppy in this story because she is the stereotypical mean girl. She's very traditionally beautiful. She has a crew of kids that are called the Yellows that do whatever she wants. And we learn early on in the story that she regularly sneaks into Midnight's room to have sex with him, but this is not a relationship that exists outside of the walls of this bedroom. So we learn that she uses relationships to manipulate people. She uses sex to manipulate people. She's just overall a very manipulative person. And caught in the middle between these two people, we have Midnight. So Midnight has always lived next to Poppy, and he has this strange relationship with her built on lust and just not ever being able to get what he wants, and she's manipulating him. And now he has moved to living across the street from the farm where Wink lives. Midnight is beginning to experience budding feelings for Wink as he gets to know her better. Other than that, we don't know a lot about Midnight because he actually is the least developed out of the three characters. The first 50% of the story is based in character development. So we're getting to know how the characters exist in this universe and also how they interact with each other, what their histories are with each other. And as I was reading, at least, I was unsure of where this was all going. It was not clear to me what we were working towards as a climax for the story. However, around the 50% mark, that became much more clear. At the 50% mark, this moved from being a character-driven story to a plot-driven story as a major event happens that sets forth different paths for each of the characters. However, this is also the point where things start to get very weird. So if we're unsure of genre at the beginning of the story, it gets completely blasted apart around the middle mark. I was unsure if I was reading a thriller, a horror novel, a paranormal novel, a contemporary novel, or maybe just a coming-of-age story. And I think this is all related to the overall mood and tone of the writing across all three of the narrations, because there are many details that are provided, but you're also constantly unsure if those details are enough. You feel a sense of disconnect from the characters, which also leads to a sense of mystery about what's really happening, because sometimes the ideas don't always line up across all three of the narrations. So that's a little bit about the synopsis. I've tried not to give any major spoilers there, but now I will go into talking about my overall thoughts and feelings on the book. So I will say that overall I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. A 3-star rating is a very good rating. It was not anything that blew me away or that's going to end up on a best of list at the end of the year. I would definitely categorize this as weird YA simply because there are multiple layers of meaning here that you have to dig through. You really have to work to understand the story, and because there's a lot here that you cannot get just from a surface level reading of the words on the page. The reader has to infer events that happened and infer motivations for those events. To some people, the story may be disappointing simply because they are expecting one of those genres that I mentioned earlier, and it may not go the direction that they thought it would go. And also because the ending could be perceived as disappointing because there is not the things that you might expect based on reading other YA books might not happen. And I know that's extremely vague, and I apologize for that because I don't want to say anything that would set up an expectation that might be let down or whatever. But I always appreciate YA that does not do what I expect it to do, and YA that uses a real sense of craft in the writing in order to give me those deeper layers of meaning that I'm often looking for. I found it particularly interesting because of the commentary it has on being an adolescent female. And I know that I always go here, I'm always talking about the feminist angle on things, but it's really hard to not talk about that when you have a book with two female lead characters who are just such polar opposites, and they're such archetypal opposites from each other. I immediately was thinking about what is this having to say, not just on being female, but female sexuality and the pains of growing up even with inside of the body and the changes that the body is going through, but also the way that that body is perceived in the social world in which the body exists. I thought this was an excellent commentary on the pressures of growing up as a female that went beyond the public school bullying, queen bee type of thing, because Wink also experienced a lot of those pressures, and she very much existed outside of that world. She also was finding those pressures in things like the fairy tale she was reading and her very unconventional family, which I thought was a unique breath of fresh air for a genre that tends to go to the same places over and over and over again. So those are my thoughts on Wink Poppy Midnight. If you have read the book, or if you're thinking of reading the book and want to tell me more about either of those experiences, you can leave your thoughts in the comments below. Just remember to avoid spoilers because there may be people who do not want to read those spoilers, and you don't want to be the people that spoil them on the book. So as always, book nerds, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.